In the past week, Trump has continued his breakneck pace of fascist cabinet appointments, and he has doubled down on his threat to be a dictator on day one. His appointments are a who's who of crusade-style warmongers, Zionist genocide cheerleaders, rabid haters of women, venomous terrorizers of immigrants, Christian fascist theocrats, drill climate change fanboys, anti-LGBT bigots, healthcare-destroying, life-threatening science deniers, and other assorted fascists and proud America First ignoramuses. Not only that, Trump is pressuring Republicans to call a recess of Congress so he can push through these appointments and skip any kind of vetting process at all. And Republicans have not ruled this out.
But if that's what we have to do to get the confirmation through, then absolutely let's do it.
Trump has also confirmed that he is going to make good on this promise.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
On Truth Social, Trump vowed to declare a national emergency, which would allow him to unleash the military to carry this operation out. And meanwhile, Christian fascist theocrats everywhere are pumped up and stepping up their assault on all parts of society.
Proposed curriculum that would teach stories from the Bible to elementary school students.
This push to bring Christianity into schools is part of a nationwide trend.
In Oklahoma, the state superintendent is now requiring every school incorporate the Bible into curriculum and is even purchasing Bibles for classrooms. And then there's Louisiana. Earlier this year, the state legislature passed a law requiring the 10 Commandments to be posted in every public school classroom.
All this as Trump is still just getting started and not even in office yet. So what are the Democrats doing about all of this? Well, the Democrats are busy making nice with Trump and promising to do everything they can to facilitate Trump's transition into power.
Looking forward to having like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So welcome back.
It's crucially important to understand why these Democrats are acting this way, what this says about the whole system, and what decent people need to be doing. Bob Avakian cuts to the heart of all of this with science and clarity in his social media message, Revolution 103. Let's listen to how this message begins.
Why Democrats are aiding and facilitating fascism. What this shows about this system and what decent people need to be doing. This is Bob Avakian, Revolution number 103. After calling Trump a fascist, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and other leading Democrats are now busy bragging about how they are upholding the peaceful transfer of power, are helping Trump with his transition to power, and they hope he will succeed as president. This is a repeat of what the Democrats did in 2017, even after they kept insisting this time that a Trump presidency now would be far worse than the first time around. Once more, the Democrats themselves are driving home the crucial point I have repeatedly emphasized. For example, in my article, Fascism and the Whole System, available at revcom.us. The Democrats and the mainstream section of the ruling class that they represent cannot fight the fascists the way they need to be fought. And this fight needs to be waged as part of fighting to abolish this whole system. Fascism is not a swear word or just some kind of negative label to put on your opponent in the course of an election. Fascism, as represented by Donald Trump, is a white supremacist, male supremacist, anti-LGBT, immigrant-hating, aggressively environment-destroying, anti-scientific, religious fundamentalist fanaticism, determined to use the power of the government to forcibly compel obedience to its dangerous and destructive lunacy, and to viciously persecute those who oppose or resist. And now that the election is over, here are the leading Democrats anxious to cooperate with and assist the fascist Trump.
The way these Democrats are cozying up to Trump is confusing and disorienting people.
I'm confused. Up until last Tuesday, if you asked any Democrat what they thought about Donald Trump, they say something like this.
Donald Trump said he would be a dictator on day one.
Trump is fascist to the core.
I want to be dictator.
If all that is true, what the hell is this?
Welcome back. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need.
Or don't. I mean, you correctly called him a criminal fascist and threat to democracy. I'm not saying booby-trap the place, but you don't have to be overly helpful.
And it's not just Charlemagne the God and Seth Meyers who are confused by this. I've spoken to all kinds of people who cannot make sense of this and are just furious at these Democrats. As those clips just showed, it's not like these Democrats don't know that Trump is a fascist, hell-bent on ripping up all the norms, gutting and remaking all the institutions of government, infusing them with open white supremacy, violent male supremacy, vicious hatred of immigrants, accelerated destruction of the climate, and so much more. And Bob Avakian is right. Fascism is not just a swear word or something to label an opponent with during a campaign. Fascism has real meaning, and it is a towering threat to people not only in this country, but all over the world. So as righteous as it is to point out the hypocrisy of these Democrats, and as justified as it is to be angry with them, it is urgently necessary to understand why these Democrats are rolling over for and rolling out the red carpet for Trump. It is necessary to understand what this reveals about the whole system that these Democrats represent and that they serve, and therefore what our responsibility is. To understand this, let's go back to Bob Avakian.
For the Democrats, the stability of the rule of this system of capitalism, imperialism, even in the form of fascism, is more important than actually defeating fascism. Yet another glaring demonstration of the reality that this whole system and every part of its ruling class is completely rotten, criminal, and thoroughly illegitimate.
That's right. It's the system of capitalism, imperialism that these Democrats serve. This is why they act the way they do. This is why they can never act in the fundamental interests of humanity. This is why they cannot fight this fascism the way it needs to be fought, or put an end to all the oppression and injustice that decent people want to see ended. Because their biggest allegiance is to the stability of this system that has all this oppression built into it. And all this is an exposure of the reality that this entire system and every part of its ruling class is exactly like B.A. said, completely rotten, criminal, and thoroughly illegitimate. Now, later in those segments from Charlemagne the God and Seth Meyers, both of them went on to say, essentially, of course, there's nothing else Biden could do. He has to hand power over to Trump. That's just the rules of the system.
Look. I understand that you have to transfer power peacefully because you're not fascist. But there's nothing in the Constitution that says you have to be nice about it.
But if there is nothing else you can do by the rules of your system than just smoothly hand power over to a cold-blooded fascist, that just drives home the point that what we need is a fundamentally different system. And decent people need to stop relying on these Democrats. So what do we need to do right now about these fascists, and how do we get to this new system? Let's listen to the last portion of Bob Avakian's message 103.
As opposed to what the Democrats are helping to impose on people, what is needed is bold defiance and a determined refusal to go along with any of this, now and in an ongoing way. As I said in message number 102, this is not a time for demoralization and despair. It is a time for righteous anger and revolutionary determination. There will definitely be a need to defend the rights and the lives of people who are the targets of this fascism. At the same time, in the face of this fascism and those who are its supporters, there should be no defensiveness, but instead a firm stand of defiantly opposing everything they are about and everything they do in moving to carry out this fascism. As for people who voted for and backed Trump, regardless of the reason or rationalization they give for doing this, the fact is that they are supporting fascism with everything that means. And it is necessary and crucial to consistently and actively take the offensive against this. This definitely goes for those bros who are openly trumpeting rape culture, assaulting women and girls with the depraved chant, "Your body, my choice." And it goes for every other putrid expression of this fascism. Even more fundamentally, as I have consistently emphasized, this fascism is rooted in the very soil of this system in this country. And more people need to be one to recognize and act on the understanding that the fight against this fascism needs to be waged as part of fighting to abolish this whole system through an actual revolution. Coming soon. How can I talk seriously about a revolution when the fascist Trump just got elected?